The studio lights felt dimmer now, not because anyone had turned them down, but because something else had taken over the room, something quieter, deeper, a kind of sacred stillness. Ellen sat forward in her chair, her expression no longer that of a talk show host, but of someone who had just glimpsed a truth she wasn't prepared for. "I've talked to a lot of people on this stage," Ellen said gently, her eyes never leaving X's. "Actors, presidents, athletes. But I don't think any of them have looked at me the way you just did." X shifted in the seat, visibly trying to absorb the weight of those words. Ellen DeGeneres sat across from him, her smile soft and full of warmth, her voice light and familiar, like a song you've heard 1,000 times but still makes you feel at home. But X couldn't help the shyness in his chest. He wasn't used to being seen. He wasn't sure what to say. He had a lot of thoughts, but words were tricky, especially when the things inside him didn't always make sense. "X," Ellen said, her voice gentle, drawing him in with the kindness of someone who had spent her life listening more than speaking. "You're not like other kids. I see something in you, something deep and beautiful. Tell me, what do you want to do when you grow up?" X paused. He wasn't sure how to explain it, but something inside him felt certain. "I want to help people," he said slowly, his voice barely a whisper. "I think that's the most important thing." Ellen nodded, her eyes shining with something more than curiosity, something like admiration. "But how do you help, sweetheart?" she asked kindly. "When you're just a kid, how do you help?" X shifted in his seat, looking down at his shoes. He didn't have many answers, but he knew what he had seen. He remembered a time not long ago when he was at the park with his mom. He saw an old woman sitting on the ground struggling to get up. A man had come over, knelt down, and helped her without asking for anything in return. It was simple, but it made something inside him stir. "I saw a man help a lady once," X said, speaking carefully. "She couldn't get up, and he just helped her. He didn't ask. He just did it, because it was the right thing." Ellen's smile deepened. "That's a beautiful thing, X. You've got a heart full of love, and believe me, that's what the world needs more of. But do you ever wonder what drives that love inside of you?" X looked up at Ellen, thinking about the question. He remembered another moment, a quiet one, when he had been lying in bed, unable to sleep. His thoughts had wandered to a place he didn't fully understand, something about God. He wasn't sure what it was exactly, but he knew he was there, always with him, a feeling that he could never explain, yet always feel. He hesitated before speaking again, his voice quieter now. "I don't think I need to look for God," he said, his words simple yet filled with something powerful. "I feel like he's always with me, like, like he's always here, in my heart. Even when I don't see him, I know he's there." Ellen paused for a moment, her expression softening. There was something different about the way X said it. It wasn't like he had learned it from books or stories. It was like X had experienced it, like he had felt God's presence in his own way, deep down in his soul. "You've got it," Ellen replied gently. "You don't need to search for him, because he's already inside you. That's the power of love. That's the power of faith. You're living it, even when you don't realize it." X nodded slowly. He didn't have all the answers, and maybe he never would. But there was something inside him, something he couldn't quite explain, that told him everything was okay. Like God was watching over him, holding him close, even if no one else saw it. I think he's been with me for a long time," X said, his voice quiet but sure. "Like even when I don't know what to do, he's there. I can feel him." Ellen smiled, a deep knowing smile. "You're right, X. He's always there. And that's the most important thing you can carry with you. Not fame, not money, but that connection, that feeling that he's walking beside you every step of the way." X felt something shift in his chest, a lightness, like the weight of the world had been lifted just for a moment. He didn't know where the road would take him, but he knew he wasn't walking it alone. Not ever. The room felt warmer now. The lights didn't seem so harsh anymore. It was as if the world outside had faded into the background, leaving just Ellen, X, and the quiet hum of their shared space. The air felt charged, like something unspoken lingered between them. Ellen leaned forward slightly, her gaze soft but curious. The corners of her eyes crinkled with empathy. X, you said God's always with you. That's powerful, she said, her voice steady, filled with a reverence that X wasn't used to hearing. But how do you know he's really there? In all the noise and all the distractions, how can you be sure? X sat back, his small hands now resting on his knees. He thought about the question carefully, feeling the weight of it. His gaze shifted to the floor, and for a moment he wasn't sure how to explain it. But he could feel it. The answer wasn't in words, it was in the stillness, in the way his heart seemed to slow when he thought of God. I just feel him, Ellen, X said, his voice soft but clear. I know he's with me, not because someone told me to believe, but because I can feel him. Even when things are hard, even when I don't understand what's happening, I just know. Ellen nodded slowly, taking in X's words. It was a rare thing to hear a child speak with such certainty, such assurance. She had seen many people try to find God in their lives, but X was different. He wasn't searching, he wasn't questioning. He had already found what so many spent a lifetime searching for. Peace. That's it, sweetheart, Ellen said with a gentle smile. You've got it figured out. People spend their whole lives looking for God in all the wrong places. They look for signs, for miracles. But sometimes it's the quiet moments that speak the loudest. X looked up at Ellen, his eyes wide with curiosity. But how do I help people feel the same way? How can I help them know that God's with them too? Ellen leaned back, crossing her arms thoughtfully. You already are, X. You don't have to do anything extra. Just be yourself. Let your heart lead you. When you show kindness, when you help others, you're showing them a piece of that love. That's the real miracle. X's eyes brightened. It was simple, yet so powerful. He didn't need to be anyone else. He didn't need to prove anything. He just needed to love. And in doing so, he could share the same peace he felt with the world. Sometimes people don't know how to love themselves, X said quietly, almost to himself. But maybe if they see me help, maybe they'll see God in me too. Ellen's heart swelled. She saw something in X that few adults ever understood. A child's pure belief, untouched by cynicism or fear, was a gift. And in that moment, she realized something. X wasn't just going to change the world, he was going to make it better, one small act of love at a time. You're already doing it, Ellen said, her voice thick with emotion. You don't even realize it, but you're changing the world just by being you. Keep that heart, and you'll be unstoppable. X smiled shyly, a small but meaningful smile that showed the depth of his understanding. For the first time, he felt the weight of his words, the importance of what they were saying to each other. In that room, it wasn't just a conversation. It was a passing of wisdom, a moment where two souls connected in a way that transcended words. The studio had quieted. The lights, which once felt bright and almost overwhelming, now seemed like soft halos surrounding them. The crew was still in the background, but no one moved, as if they too felt the weight of what had just passed between Ellen and X. X sat in the same chair, his small hands still resting on his knees, but his gaze had shifted. His eyes no longer looked uncertain or searching. There was a stillness in them now, a quiet peace that spoke volumes. Ellen noticed it. The boy she had been speaking to just hours before was no longer the same. There was something more inside of him now, a deeper understanding. You know, X said after a long pause, his voice barely above a whisper, I used to think that God was just a thought, something far away. But now I think he's in everything, in the way people help each other, in the quiet moments, in the love that gets shared. Ellen nodded, her heart swelling as she listened to X. It was as if, in the span of just a few hours, X had grown up in ways that most people didn't, no matter their age. You're right, X, Ellen replied, her voice full of emotion. God isn't just some thought we have. He's everywhere. And the love you feel, that's him, working through you. That's how he speaks to us, through us and through each other. X's expression softened, a small smile forming on his face. But it wasn't a smile of triumph or pride. It was something deeper, a smile that reflected a quiet understanding, a connection that wasn't just about words, but about the bond that had been formed between them. You know, X continued, his voice now more assured. I used to think that being rich or famous was the most important thing, but now I think it's about helping others feel what I feel. I want them to feel that peace, that love. I want to show them that no matter what happens, God is always there. Ellen's eyes grew moist. Here was a boy who had everything the world could offer, yet he sought something far greater. Not fame, not money, but the peace and love that could only come from a deep connection to something bigger than himself. And you're going to, X, Ellen said, her voice full of conviction. You already are. Let's keep the conversation going. Subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts below. Your perspective is valuable and might inspire others.